Today we're going to learn surface area of cylinders. Okay, now when we cut a cylinder open, so we're looking at like a can of food. If we were to like cut it and then open it up, this is what that net would look like. Okay, we have that circle for the top, the circle for the bottom of that can. Okay, and then we have that label area. And if you've ever taken a label off of a can, you're going to notice that that is a rectangular shape there. Okay, so to find the surface area of a cylinder, we have to find the area of the top and bottom, those two circles, as well as this rectangle here. Okay, now finding the area of a circle we've done before. Okay, so that's just area equals pi times r squared. And remember, r squared is r times r, not r times 2. Okay, where that r is the radius. Okay, and the radius goes halfway through that circle. All right. Now we have two circles. You could just multiply that by 2 because in order for a can to work, those circles have to be the same size. So in a cylinder, those circles are always going to be the same size. Okay, so we could just find the area of one circle, multiply it by 2 to get the area of both. Next, we have to find the area of that rectangular shape. Okay, so this length of that rectangular shape right here is the height of our cylinder. Okay, because if we were to unfold that label, the height of our lateral surface or that label area is going to be the height of that can. Okay, and that's normally going to be labeled in an example, so we don't have to find that. The tricky part is finding this distance here. Okay, and like the example that I showed you in class, this distance here is going to be the same as the outside of the circle. Okay, because when we cut this down, that can has to open up and that label has to fit perfectly around that circle and not overlap. Okay, so this circumference right here of the circle is going to be our length of this rectangle that we have to find. Okay, and let's remember that circumference is pi times diameter. Okay, let's remember that our diameter is all the way across a circle. So it is our radius times 2, because our radius is only halfway across a circle. Okay, so if our halfway across the circle is 1, our whole way across the circle is 2, because 1 times 2. If halfway across our circle is 3, the whole way across our circle is 6, because 3 times 2. Okay, so just remember that our diameter is radius times 2. All right, now that we have the basics, we are going to start solving some surface area problems. First problem is going to be the easiest, and that is our surface area of a net of a cylinder. So they already unfolded it for us here. We see that we have two circles and a rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to find the area of those circles first. And the area of a circle is pi times radius squared. Now to save me some time, I know that I have two circles that are the exact same size. So I'm just going to multiply that by 2. Okay, so then I have area equals pi times my radius of the circle, which is 4, squared times 2. Now remember, 4 squared is not 4 times 2, it's 4 times 4. So we would simplify this to pi times 4 times 4, which is 16 times 2. At this point, we can start plugging into our calculator. Remember that we use, for pi, 3.14. Okay, so in our calculator, we're going to type in 3.14 times 16 times 2. When we type that into our calculator, we are going to get 100.48 millimeters squared. Now this is an area that I'm going to circle because I'm going to need to add it to the area of our rectangle later. Okay, so now we are going to find the area of our rectangle, or that label area on the can. Okay, they tell us that the height is 3. Okay, so we do length times width, or base times height. We know the height is 3, but we don't know what that base or that length is. Okay, so we have to find the circumference of that circle, because remember when we cut this can open, it's going to lay out this way, in this way, perfectly to match up with the circumference of the circle. Okay. To find circumference, we have pi times diameter. Now remember, our diameter is our radius times 2. So if our radius is 4, our diameter is 8. 4 times 2, which is 8. Okay, but that is just going to give us our length. To find the area of this label area, we have to multiply that times the height, which was 3. Okay, so now in our calculator, we're going to take 8 times 3.14 times 3, and we are going to get 75.36 millimeters squared. I'm going to circle that as well because those are the two areas that I have to add to get this entire cylinder. Okay, so I'm going to add those together, and I'm going to get my final answer of 175.84 millimeters squared. That is our surface area of that whole cylinder. All right, so example 2 is going to be a real-world example of how much paper is used for the label. Now notice how our label around a cylinder can, there's no label on top or bottom. That's just going to be that aluminum. Okay, so the only area that we are looking to find here is that lateral surface or that rectangle. Okay, to find the area of a rectangle, we need that base times that height, or that length times that width. Okay, so we already know that the height of this can is going to be 2, but we need to find this length. Remember, this length is going to be the circumference of that circle, because if we were to cut it open, okay, and lay it out, it would be that rectangle. That would be the length of the circle. Okay, so we have this is the circumference, which is pi times diameter. Okay, let's remember that the diameter is the radius times 2, because the radius is halfway across, diameter is the whole way. So when we are trying to find the area of this label, we will take 2, which is our height, times pi times our diameter. So we will get 2 times 3.14 times our diameter, which is all the way across, which is 1 times 2, which is 2. So we'll do 2 times 2 times 3.14. And when we do that into our calculator, we get 12.56 inches squared. Okay, and that is how much paper we would need to label this sweet pea can. All right, now we're going to use some information that we use in example 2 to solve example 3. So example 3 tells us you earn 1 cent for recycling a can in example 2. How much can you expect to earn for recycling this tomato can? Assume that the recycle value is proportional. So that means is that you're getting paid a certain amount of money for the square inches of aluminum that you are giving them. Remember, in a can, right, it's going to be made out of, all right, a can is made out of aluminum. So you are getting paid for the surface area of a can, since the top, bottom, and that side is all aluminum. Okay, so that's just the context background knowledge that you need to know. All right, now for a sweet pea can, we already found that rectangle, that lateral label area in the last problem, which was 12.56. So that's one of the numbers that we're going to have to add. All right, then we need to find the top and bottom circles of that can. Okay, the radius was 1 and the height, if we scroll back up, was 2. Okay, so the area of a circle, pi times radius squared, pi times 1 squared. And we have 2 circles in a can, so we're going to multiply that answer by 2. So our area of our circles in this problem is going to be 6.28 inches squared. Last step is to add these two together to get that total surface area of 18 and 84/100 inches squared. Okay. Now we are comparing the amount of money we got paid for this can, which was 1 penny, to how much we would get paid for the surface area of this can. So first thing we have to do is find the surface area of this can. So let's do those circles first. I think those are a little easier, so I always like to start with those. The area of a circle is pi times radius squared. We have two circles, one on top, one on bottom, so we're going to multiply that by 2. So we have pi times our radius, which is 2, squared times 2. So we have pi times 2, which is 4, times 2. So we have 3.14 times 4 times 2, which we would get 25.12 is the circle area. Okay. Next, we need to do that rectangle area. Okay, that lateral surface. The height of that label or lateral surface is the height of the can, which is 5.5. And this length here is going to be that circumference of the circle, remember, because it has to match up perfectly. So that circumference is pi times diameter. Okay, to find the area of this rectangle, we take pi times diameter times 5.5. So pi times diameter times our height, which is 5.5. Okay, our diameter is the whole way across. So if halfway across is 2, the whole way across is going to be 4. Oops, I said 4 when I meant to write 5.5. Okay, so in our calculator, we take 4 times 3.14 times 5.5, and we will get 69.08 inches squared. Last step is to add these two up to find that total surface area. When we add those together, we would get 94. Oops. 94 and 2/10, 94.2 inches squared. Okay. And we don't know how much money we would get for the can. That's what we're getting asked. Okay. Now they told us that it's proportional. Okay. So we're going to write a proportion to find how much money we are getting for this can. All right. When we write proportions, remember our first fraction is always the information that they give us. Okay. The information that they gave us was that we earned 1 penny for the sweet pea can. Okay, and remember when I was giving you the context of this problem, I said that you are going to get paid for the amount of aluminum, which is the surface area. So we got 1 penny for 18.84 squared inches of aluminum. Okay, in our second fraction, we fill in the information we know. Well, we know the tomato can is 94.2 inches squared, and we don't know how much money. So we can fill in we don't know with the x, because that's what we're going to solve to find. And then we know that it's 94.2 inches squared. Notice how my labels will match. Inches, inches, money, money. Okay. Last thing, we are going to use cross products to solve this. All right. So I have 18.84 times x. Remember, cross products are always equal. So then we have 1 penny times 94.2. When we simplify that up and we divide by 18.84 to get that x by itself, to get times 18.84 to cancel out, we would divide by 18.84. We would get a final answer of 0.05. And this is already written as a dollar amount, so this would be 5 cents. That would be our final answer. If you have any questions or if there's any areas you want to go back and rewatch, you may. Otherwise, you may start your classwork assignment.